Are you smarter than a fifth grader? And ID for Mickey D's?
On this episode of Simply Necessary Conversations.
So kicking it off with trending topics, I've been seeing a resurgence of this conversation ever since COVID, and now I feel like it's even more popular just because of AI and technology and like all of the different tools that people are using to teach their kids. But someone tweeted the other day, unpopular opinion on parenting that would get you in this position, and it's that meme of Flynn Rider with the knives pointed at him from table. And someone said, they said, you are not smart enough to homeschool your kids. Oops. And as somebody that was homeschooled, the homeschoolee, you were the homeschooler.
Mm-hmm.
What is your take? And then I'll give my take on, do you think people are smart enough to homeschool their kids?
I want to say a general yes, in that some people think, wait a minute. Some people think that you have to be a teacher or have a background in education or, something like that to homeschool. That is not the case. Anyone, especially in the state of Florida, unless the laws have changed since I homeschooled you, anyone can homeschool their child. And I will say there are tools and resources available so that anyone can homeschool their child. But however, if you were not the best student in school, if you don't have a disciplinarian's mindset where you're going to hold your child accountable and have rules and stuff, and no, they don't have to be as strict as a real, normal school setting. Yeah. But if you are not someone that has control over your child in that you can say you have to do X, Y, and Z on a daily basis, or you have to do this on a consistent basis, then it's probably not for you. It worked for me and you because I was a good student in school. I was academically inclined. I'm your mother, so you were academically inclined. And I also never had a problem with discipline with you. I never understood, because I have had people say to me, I don't know how you did it because I could never homeschool my child because they don't listen to me. I'm like, well, see, that's a whole nother problem. Yeah. That's beyond just homeschooling. That's a problem because if I feed and clothe you, you're going to listen to me or you're going to find yourself homeless and naked. So you gotta first, and that's on everything. But you first have to have a relationship with your child where they respect and will listen to you. And then you also have to be someone that education comes naturally to you in a certain kind of way. You don't have, I was not a scientist, but I could still teach you basic science. I was not a mathematician. I could teach you basic math. The only reason that I involved a outside resource, which turned out to be Florida Virtual School, was because I knew I wasn't the best math student in the world. That was where if I made a B, it was going to be in math. And I didn't want you to have that handicap, so I enlisted them. But from birth to sixth grade, everything that you were taught was something that I pulled together. I contacted the school board. I asked for the standards that they, back then it was called standards. Now they say benchmarks. But I asked for the standards that you needed to reach for each grade level. And I made sure that I taught you those skills. It wasn't until third grade that everybody was so insistent that maybe you needed to go to school. I let you test. You tested fine. I decided, because I didn't like the test anxiety that it created, that we would never do that again, at least until you had to, because you went from loving and enjoying school to being anxious because I was trying to teach you to the test. Parents, if your children are in school, they have to be taught to the test. It's not just enough that they be smart. So I did that. And then when you got to high school and wanted a regular diploma and not a GED, they also need to know that. If you homeschool your kids, at least in Florida, specifically Polk County, if you want them to have a diploma and not a GED, they have to take all the standardized tests that the other kids in school take. So if you are not someone that knows how to prepare your child to teach your child and then also prepare them for test taking, it's not for you.
I don't think the majority of people are smart enough to homeschool their kids. And that's what I've been sitting here waiting to say.
Oh, no.
I don't think they're smart enough, and I don't think a lot of them are sane enough. As someone that has been around a lot of homeschooled people and as someone that has been around a lot of people that have either gone to public or private schools, I think everybody's a little bit weird. That's the first thing. There's a lot of
us in our own way. I'm sure somebody finds us weird. We're not the
maybe
exception.
A little bit, but
we just understand and appreciate our weird. But somebody thinks we're weird too.
I don't think the negative stereotype about homeschooling is completely accurate for some people, including myself, because I've met a lot of people out in the real world that also are a little bit ticky ticky boom boom, and they don't, the socialization aspect and stuff, they also don't have that, and they was in school their whole life, and they missed a couple of chapters apparently. So I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do know a lot of homeschool people that are ticky ticky boom boom and very weird. So I would say, unless you are someone that is academically inclined, or like you said, a disciplinarian that will be able to corral their kids, even if they're doing a virtual school platform, because that's now way more popular since COVID than it was before. If that is the way you want to go, you need to make sure that you can control your child, and also that your family is not weird. Because I feel like a lot of people...
That's kind of like saying... Because if they're weird, they're not going to... In some cases, people don't know.
We know this, but what I'm saying is results may vary depending on the family.
That's pretty much.
So if I was homeschooled, and I've been told by because I don't necessarily talk about it because there is that negative stereotype.
Yeah.
And I allow people to get to know me for me, and then it might just come up naturally in conversation, and every single time in my adult life, people are just like, you're just so good at talking to people. Like, how did you major in mass communications? And it's just like, because my family wasn't weird, I was just learning at home. And I had ambitions to do other things at the time. I wanted to model and possibly act, and I played piano. Like, I had other side projects that facilitated me being at home. Would I homeschool my kids? Probably not. But that's for my own selfish reasons of still wanting to have my own career, and you don't necessarily have a retirement the way that you want to have it because you stayed home with me. So I feel like it's one of those, it's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody.
It depends on your situation. If for some reason my future child decides that they want to be the next Zendaya, then okay, then maybe we'll look at an online school option if I see you're progressing. Or if they want to be the next Steph Curry, okay, well, we might have to look at that. Or even if they want to
graduate early, because it lends itself to a lot of things.
A lot of people think that in order to be homeschooled, it's two completely separate things. If I were to do it, which I don't plan to do it, but if I were to do it, I would make it more of a hybrid situation where they are going to school and at least taking a couple classes so they are interacting with other people their age. Because I did feel somewhat behind in terms of I didn't really like other kids like that because they were all, and I wasn't like that because I was surrounded by old and elderly people. Not even just adults. I was surrounded by elderly people most of the time. I was surrounded by grandma and grandma Etna.
Well, here's the thing.
My aunts.
We did try having you take some electives at the school. Unfortunately, we chose... Well, when you were in elementary school, you took art classes with the other kids.
But see, the issue with that is if you're not on campus all the time, everyone already has their friends. And then you feel even more like the odd duck because now you're coming in trying to make friends and everybody looking at you like, who's this girl?
In high school, we chose, because I didn't... This is awful to say, but it's true. I didn't trust the public school system with your education because I had been a student in the public school system when it was really good. Like, I knew, obviously, I felt like it was good because it produced me. And then when I was teaching in the mid to late 90s, school was still good. Like, it was still good from what I could see. I had some really good students. One of the reasons why I chose to homeschool you was because my students that really shined in my class at that time, when I would ask them, because I was teaching high school, where did you go to middle school? Where did you go? They would say they were homeschooled. So I made a mental note. It's like, okay, I need to think about that if I ever have a child because my best and brightest students were homeschooled. That was kind of what pushed me in that direction, that and not wanting to put you in school when you were, small, when you were younger. I didn't want to put you in school because I didn't want to put you in, I should say, daycare. And then when you start to read at 4 and show progress, I was like, me and your other parent decided, well, they're not going to do what you're doing. So we decided to do it for different reasons. I think it depends, too, on location, because my friends that went to school in different counties, the stuff that they were learning, it's like, they don't teach that here. So I think it depends on if you're in a good school zone. If you're in a good area. If the school is safe, if the school offers whatever your child is into at the time. That's the other reason, too. I had forgotten about that. I ran into one of your older cousins who was an adult at that point in time. And he, you were with me, you were younger. And he was like, where, how old is she? And I told him. And he was like, because, we didn't see each other a lot. But he's like, how old is she? And I told him. And he was like, well, where is she going to go to school? And when I said it, he literally looked like he was about to cry. He was like, she don't need to go there. He's like, have you been to a school lately? Because I hadn't, He's like, have you been to a school lately? He's like, you really shouldn't. Like, and just the way that he was emoting, it made me plumb nervous. And then I had a friend and classmate who was posting about his kids who were all graduating early. I think at least two out of he has 6 kids. I think at least 2 out of his 6 kids graduated from high school at 16. And I messaged him and said, hey, you know, that is something to be proud of. How did you do that? Like, how did they do that? And he explained to me that they were homeschooled. He also said that it was mostly his girls because their brothers told him they did not want their sisters at school. They did not feel like it was a safe environment. And like just hearing all the stuff and knowing what I knew from having been a teacher, I decided to homeschool you. Now, the people that expected you to be weird, because I couldn't figure out, they were like, oh, don't homeschool it.
No,
she's not going to know how to talk to people.
I understand that because
Well,
I
you
know
do,
a lot I know a lot of people that are that way, where they don't know how to talk to people.
When we went to some of the homeschool events, we noticed that some of the parents and the kids were different. I'm going to just say different.
And a lot of people homeschool their kids because they're in whatever cult of their choice, and they don't want to be, they don't want them to be indoctrinated,
to the world,
or they don't want diversity in their education or whatever.
That was not why I did it, but like, I noticed that a lot of them were different. I'm going to say different because
they were a little odd. They were a little odd.
But I just couldn't figure out why people were like, she's not going to know how to talk to people. He was like, what you mean? Like, she's going to know how to talk to people because I talked to her. She goes places, she sees people.
There's some truth to that, but I'm just not stupid. So, like, I adjusted once I
not to be cocky, but I had enough sense to know that I had enough sense to make sure that you knew how to do the things you knew how to do.
But it did take some adjusting.
You were shy initially, very, very shy initially.
It did take some, and there are parts of not going to school that I have missed out on a lot of childhood. Like,
you missed a lot of things.
And some of that is because I didn't grow up in a neighborhood where there were other kids.
You missed a lot of things for the homeschooling, and also because when your other parent and I purchased our homes, we were very young. Everybody else was in their 30s, 40s, you know, some of them even their 50s, 60s. We were in our 20s when because I'm not stupid, we were in our 20s when we bought our home. So the neighborhood where we were, there were no other
so basically,
kids.
The point is that when I was younger, I would like the kids that I played with were my relatives and my cousins and stuff, and I learned everything from them until I got old enough to be in other spaces.
You got to go and do a lot of things that younger kids typically wouldn't do because they were in school. And I do know that you missed out on, like, now, if I'm in my hometown and I walk into a store, there's a probably better than 50% chance I'm going to run into somebody I was in school with or that I know. And you're going to say, who was that? I'm going to say I went to school with them either in middle school, elementary, middle, or high school. You don't have that, but there's a lot of negative things that you missed out on as well. I regret not like signing you up for more things or whatever in a certain kind of way, but I do not regret my choice of homeschooling you.
I don't think you thought it was that important because you don't like people like that. Where I'm a little bit more, I wouldn't say I'm a people person, but I'm a little bit more extroverted and a little bit more willing to go outside.
You get that from the other DNA.
So I think in your mind, it was just like, oh, I ain't want to do that ish anyway, so I'm not going to have her do it.
School,
but now, as an adult, I wish I would have played a sport, or I wish I would have been a part of a band, or like I wish I would have had more activities.
For a dance class. Whenever
why did I stop going to the dance class?
Well, you stopped going to the dance class because to me, those people were a little bit extra.
No, you didn't want me to wear makeup during the performances.
They were wanting you to do things that I wasn't in agreement with. And when I told them I wasn't in agreement with, they told me I didn't have a choice. And I said deuces and I left. Like, no, because to me, and I would have been fine with you wearing kitty makeup, but they wanted you to have a beat like you were some grown woman.
A lot of the activities I didn't participate in because you were como se dice a helicopter parent.
No, I was a fighter pilot parent.
Okay, you were somewhat of a helicopter parent. Like, I wanted to do gymnastics, and you thought I was going to hurt myself.
The lady did not have control over the classroom. You're on the balance beam, and she letting kids run around, and I'm thinking you're going to fall off that beam and break your neck.
Yes.
A lot of choices that I made that you didn't necessarily agree with, but I made them for your safety and for your benefit, and I regret some of them, but I do not regret the majority of them. Yeah. And to bring it back to what we were talking about, homeschooling is not for everybody. For every choice that I made, I tried to make sure I found some balance. I looked for opportunities for you to be around. I signed you up for the daisies. You didn't get to continue into Girl Scout. But like me and some of my other friends that were homeschooling, our kids, tried to make sure that you did get some socialization.
For me, in terms of as someone that experienced it on the other end of it, not as a parent, but as the kid, I think there's more of a healthy medium, at least until I see how my kids personalities are. If they want to be at school all the time, or if they want,
because you may have that kid that says, I don't want to go to school.
I chose to be homeschooled because I knew it was better for my education. But I did, when I was a kid, I didn't feel like I missed out on anything. But now as an adult, I feel like I lack elements of community because my main connections are people that I've met in my adult years and not people that I met in my childhood.
Well, and then, okay, and I will say I have several friends that I made in school that I'm still in contact with, but probably my best friend, we weren't in school together. She was older than me. Hey, Karen, girl, you know I'm talking about you. But we weren't in school together. We became friends outside of school. I hate to say this, but even though I was at school.
But see, that's because you don't like people.
I like people, but I have a low tolerance for foolishness.
You prefer being at home with your core group of people versus being out.
Yeah, well, no,
and that's just your personality.
I prefer being out with my core group of people.
Well, you know what I mean.
And then also, I just found that there were a lot of snakes and a lot of shadiness and a lot of fakeness, and I didn't have time for that.
That's true, but that's not necessarily everybody's experience.
I didn't have time to be watching my back.
That's true. That's not, and because a lot of these problems boil down to being in Polk County, because it's not everybody's. I know plenty of people that have friends from childhood that they are still in contact with, that they still consider to be close.
Most of the people that I deal with now are people. There's one or two people, handful of people that I did meet in school. Most of them are people that I either met in college or I met in my adult life that I would hang out with. There were a lot of good people. There are some people I realize now, because we became friends on social media, that I wish I had hung out, English teacher, hung out more with when I was in school, because I can see they're fun. I didn't know that about them. But here's the other thing, and I'm not trying to be shady or anything. Here's the other thing. When I was in school, I was in a lot of honors classes and AP classes and things like that. There were not a lot of the people from my community in the classes with me. There were a handful of us, but I was not in it. So, I didn't get to. And then that was back when education was important to people. So, when I tried to sign up for some of the classes where people were just having fun, when I wanted to take home ec, when I wanted to take different classes that just were fun, the guidance counselors who were looking out for my best interest in a certain kind of way were like, no, you're not taking that class because that's not going to prepare you for college. You're going to take this class. So I didn't get to be friends with a lot of people in school because I was on the academic track. They don't hold those kind of standards as much, at least not in Polk County, like they used to. But I kind of got pushed a certain way, which separated me from a lot of people that I wish I had been able to hang out with and do things with. So, the only decisions that I could make when it came to your education were based on my experiences. And I realized after the fact that your experiences may not have been the same as my experiences. Like you said, there probably should have been more of a hybrid situation. But I'm gonna just leave it at summa cum laude, 3.99 GPA.
I think I would have been less shy, but that's not the word.
You were gonna be. I think I would have regardless. I think.
Well, yeah. I'm not shy now, but I think I would have been less comfortable just being in the house and just being with family if I would have been somewhat forced to have to y'all never, to your credit, y'all always gave me a choice and y'all never made me do any activity or do anything academic that I did not want to do. Right. But I think in some ways y'all should have been no, you're going to sign up for this and not figure it out.
I don't know. I think because my father was the king of my kids ain't doing them that they don't want to do. If they don't have to do it, I'm not going to make them. But we had a different life experience in that we were in school. But like you said, I let you make a lot of choices about things that maybe as a kid I shouldn't have let you make. Was it perfect? No, it wasn't. But I think you.
Obviously, I'm fine. I just think I'll handle things different for my kids because
you're going to repair things in your children's lives.
I want them to prioritize their academics and their passions while also still feeling like they're not missing out on valuable, just social life experiences that most people are going to have.
I think in every generation, hopefully it gets better because I have the exact opposite problem with, or I shouldn't say problem, the exact opposite experience with my parents in that I wish I had been able to been homeschooled because I ain't like it. It wasn't something that people did in the 70s and 80s and 90s.
You would have been weird if you would have done that.
So I kind of wish that I hadn't had to go to school. So
now I feel especially being in the digital age, I feel like we were becoming so divided and so in our bubbles, and the little kids already attached to their iPads. And like, I don't necessarily want my kids to, you playing the video games and you doing school online, and like your whole life, like all of your friends. Like, and I experienced that during COVID, where all of my friends, all of my human connection had to be online. We could not gather the way that we wanted to gather. Well, I don't necessarily think that's healthy.
And also, too, because of the homeschool situation up through high school, I think you enjoyed college way more than I did. Like, honey,
I definitely enjoyed college more.
The college experience you had, I wish I had had.
And that's the one thing in terms of like social life that I have no regrets about, because with having been in school right on the heels of COVID, I felt like, oh, finally I get to, like, it seemed like
you had a good group of friends.
It seems like every year of my life up until there was some reason that was blocking me from just being able to not focus on academics.
I know you don't hear that.
No, I'm not sure.
I think it was God.
There was some reason
God knew what was best for you.
There was some reason, like even like my senior year of high school, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a regular senior. I'm not going to be a nerd. I'm not going to be an academic.
Did I not try to sign you up for regular high school?
Yes.
And what happened?
And it would have been you taught at the school, so you would have been able to connect
the lady,
with people.
The guidance counselor, thank you, Miss Douglas. Thank you, Miss Douglas. She said she can come here, or she can go ahead and go to college.
When you are above average in terms of like academics, it forces you to have to almost separate yourself in a certain type of way and make sacrifices in terms of like socially, or like I wanted to get a job and y'all were like, no, you're not getting a job.
You didn't need a job.
No, but I want, like, there was a certain level of independence that I wanted, that it was just like, okay, I just got to be in school. And now, as an adult,
my parents taught us when we were not your age, but when we were school age, your job was school.
Yeah,
because they grew up in a situation where, especially my dad, had to work if he wanted things. He made sure that the things we wanted, he provided, so that we had no excuse not to be academically successful, because he knew what that would mean for our future. So when you came along, there was no reason under God's green earth why you needed to be at McDonald's or whatever stuff. We wanted you.
I think it would have been beneficial in terms of my first job not being as an adult in corporate America. Like, there would have been somewhat of a level of, okay, this is how stuff goes. This is what you need to learn, instead of kind of learning as an adult.
I don't know how much, because I did have the McDonald's job. Like, my first and only non-adult job was a McDonald's job that I got maybe my senior year of high school, I think it was. Well, that's not true. I worked at McDonald's and I worked at a taco place in the mall. And then when I went to college, my internships were in offices. Like I would kind of like what your internship was. I got paid a lot less, and it was different. But I was in offices instead of working, at restaurants or whatever and stuff. And so when you were in college, thankfully, your internships were at Fox 13. And they were good to you, and they prepared you well for your career. So I really do think you're going to always feel like, wait till you have kids. You're going to the kid is always going to feel like the parent should have done something differently. You as a parent, you're going to always feel like you should do something differently, no matter how you could have gone to school and
I think even if I would have went to school, I still would have been successful, because I'm just not stupid.
You absolutely would.
But it would have been a different experience. Maybe I would have had traumas I don't have. But I will say,
though, if you had gone to school where you were supposed to go to school, I'm going to just leave it at that.
I think y'all would have found a different school for me to go to.
Well, okay.
But let's just close out this conversation by saying, obviously, homeschooling your kids is a privilege. Everybody can't do it. If you want to do it, knock yourself out. If you don't want to do it, who cares? At the end of the day, it's your kid.
Make sure that if you are going to do it, you don't do it to your child's detriment. Make sure that you...
Yeah, don't be one of those people
and then ask for help if you're not sure. And then also, there are platforms, Florida Virtual. I don't know how long they're going to be in business, because I know a lot of stuff is being changed. But find a platform. And then I will give this warning too. If you do sign your child up for an online platform for school, don't assume that they're doing everything. You still need to be
Don't
involved.
assume that your kid doing anything in school without looking at it. Whether it's online or whether it's
a traditional school online. You should never surrender your child's complete education and schooling to someone else. You as a parent should never stop educating and teaching your kids, and you need to be asking them on a regular basis. Now, I knew at a certain point, I didn't need to ask you anything. You were going to do it. Like, I just knew. But even then, even with my parents, on report card day when everybody else was either scared to go home or excited to go home, my parents 3-4 days later be like, oh, that's right, y'all got report cards. Let me see it. Because they knew that they didn't have to worry about what I was going to do because I was driven in that way. I was going to make sure I did what I needed to do. But no parent should just assume anything because you ultimately, if that child is not successful, they're going to fall back in your lap. They're going to be leaning on you. They're going to be living in your house. Teachers are going to get paid whether your child learns or not. So you better be checking with them.
Well, what y'all also need to be checking on, let me put y'all on, is the Marvel MCU is back. And maybe not better than ever is a stretch. But it's getting better. It's getting better. And I would not be a true Marvel girly if the Let Me Put Y'all On wasn't about the Thunderbolts. If you haven't seen the movie already, then you're bound to get it spoiled for you. Sorry, because this is about to spoil something for you.
Okay, tune out for just a few minutes, but don't tune out completely.
Because it's already on the posters and everything, the Thunderbolts is now the new Avengers. And you don't really know what that means because you haven't watched the movie yet.
I do not.
But for this to be such a ragtag group of anti-heroes for a movie that everyone thought was going to underperform or just thought was like kind of not a throwaway movie, but just kind of like a filler MCU movie to, trudge us on along.
To the next.
I fear it may be very essential because, number one, if you haven't seen Captain America yet, Brave New Worlds, you need to kind of see that before you see this in order to get like some slight things and kind of know that like, oh, wait, some people might be arguing about some stuff. And then there's also kind of a teaser to Fantastic Four in this movie that's going to be coming out later this summer. But it's definitely a movie that you need to watch in order to keep up with eventually Doomsday that will be coming out. I didn't expect it to be such a good movie. It really reminded me of like old school Marvel in a way. And shockingly to me, it's been in everybody's top 5. Like people have been saying that this is the best movie post Endgame. And some people have even been saying that it's better than No Way Home, which is to me a little bit crazy because No Way Home is still one of my faves. But if you haven't seen it, you need to see it. The acting is good. The storyline is very different. And to me, the villain is more formidable than Thanos even. If he wanted to be.
Thanos tried to kill half of the people.
We had the blip, now we got something else.
Oh, okay.
So I think
I have not seen it. I gotta see it.
And I think it's worth seeing in theaters. Now Bucky got a hard behind intro in this movie. Like before Bucky
don't sound too much.
This is all over social media.
I don't care. I haven't seen it.
I didn't say anything about it, but you need to be paying attention because when Bucky get on that screen and start getting to business, it's
okay.
But watch the Thunderbolts. Maybe one day this will be sponsored by Marvel/Disney.
Come on,
if y'all need somebody,
because we keep hyping y'all up.
If y'all need somebody to do cast interviews, I have a degree. I've done interviews before. Just call my number.
Look, watch this callback. She has a degree because she was homeschooled and she was very smart.
I would have had a degree regardless. Anyway. What had happened was, I thought this story was absolutely insane, but I saw it right before we came here, and I was like, oh, we got to add this to the show. A McDonald's in Virginia is now requiring that customers be 21 plus to dine inside because apparently they've been having issues with teens coming in, being rambunctious, messing stuff up. So now you got to show that ID to get your McChicken. So do we think that's a little bit extreme, or do you understand where this McDonald's is coming from? And I didn't even know they could make a rule like this.
I think they might be going out of McBusiness soon. Because what you mean, McDonald's? You're not Red Lobster. You're not Carrabba's or some sit-down. Like, what you mean you got to be 21 to come in McDonald's? The people working at McDonald's, so the employees got to wait outside because most of them are not going to be 21. What are you talking about? I don't know where this McDonald's is. I don't know the demographics.
It's
where they
Fairfax
are.
County, I believe, in Virginia.
Honey, I just think it's a little bit much. I could see saying you had to be accompanied by an adult if you're under a certain age or something like that, or even posting that you can be asked to leave if you do not conduct yourself in a certain way. But McDonald's, you got to be 21? Like, are they serving alcohol? Like, what's going on?
According to this story, story that this social media account, shout out to 863 Famous. Y'all steal a lot of my stories sometimes, but that's not the point. It says the McDonald's located near Thomas Edison High School in Fairfax County, Virginia, now has a doorbell next to the entrance and a sign explaining the new age requirement. Due to repeated incidents of student violence, the location is temporarily closed for dine-in service to anyone under 21 years of age, the sign says, according to NBC4 Washington. The most recent incident happened Monday, including a large group of young people, some who appeared to be from the nearby high school. The group fought, stood on tables, and swore loudly. NBC4 Washington reports. A customer named Stacy told the outlet she witnessed young people being rowdy inside the store while eating with her grandkids. Like, we're sitting down. I'm going to do a little accent.
So you're going to act. Okay, go ahead.
Like, we're sitting down eating. Y'all smoking, y'all drinking, y'all cussing, Stacy said. Like, come on, y'all.
I wonder if Stacy's like, that's not how I sound. I hope, Stacy, if you watch it, let us know if she got you right.
She's from Virginia, so come on, y'all. I understand, because as somebody that is in news, teenagers be getting into a lot of stuff at a lot of places that, kind of where they congregate or, where the food is cheap and they can afford it with their little $2 salaries.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like, is that not like discrimination? Because what if I was a student from like somewhere I wasn't
don't
in
know
the fight?
these people's thought processes, and I can't tell anybody how to run their business. But they may have been better served in terms of keeping revenue flowing by hiring security.
A security for the Mickey D?
Yeah. And I don't mean like walking around, on a car.
But someone's job.
But just someone who is a licensed professional training on de-escalating situations, whatever stuff, because then the salary, and they, again, I don't know their business, so their salary would need to be offset by how much money they're saving by still allowing a larger group of young people to be able to patronize the restaurant. But to just say 21 and older, I think they're going to, especially if they're near a high school, because that's probably a lot of their revenue.
But how bad is this school that y'all got the McDonald's shut down?
That goes back to, who do these children belong to? Like, who are the parents that got kids that's making McDonald's and places shut down?
It's one thing to be loud, because we done all been loud teenagers that's been getting on the adults' nerves.
Adults.
Yeah, I probably was a loud adult last weekend.
When I'm out, but still.
To be like, especially if I'm in an area, like for instance, if I'm out with my friends, we all grown, we all kick in. If we're talking about certain subjects or using colorful language or whatever, but we look over and we see somebody's grandma with the kids, we're taking that energy down.
Yeah, try not to disrupt.
I mean, even if we're
around may have been better served to have like they do at the post office, specific people that are not allowed. Okay, you were in a fight, you're banned from this. Because I think restaurants can ban. They should have banned on an individual basis, because now you're penalizing that teenage person that would come in and conduct themselves correctly.
If the door was unlocked, supposedly, if the door was unlocked, and these teenagers have already had a history of fighting and cussing and being rambunctious, they're just going to come, regardless of whether they're banned or not, they're just going to come in, and then they got to call the police, and like, it's this whole thing.
They either need to have a list of people that are not allowed, or they need to have security.
But I'm saying, I don't think that's going to work, because if the door is just left unlocked and these kids are doing this habitually at this place, they're just going to keep doing it, and then there's going to keep being an uproar. They're going to keep having to call law enforcement.
They could have you have to be admitted into the restaurant. They could have a list of people that are not allowed.
But then who's going to stand at the door, open the door every 2 seconds?
At public schools, when you come to the school, you have to show your ID at the door, and they buzz you in. Like, they can have somebody that's just working the buzzer.
I feel like this is just ridiculous.
You can work the cash register and the buzzer at the same time.
At this point, just close the McDonald's down.
Or something.
This is just so ghetto.
Or something. That is so sad that kids ruin things for themselves. So now you don't have a McDonald's. Well,
they got the drive-through. Yeah, I guess you got to walk through the drive-through, because I doubt they have a bunch of kids.
There was a situation where there was a convenience store that I'm pretty sure closed here, because the kids were constantly going in the store and acting a fool, and that store is now closed.
Get yourselves together.
Parents,
Come on.
There's a lot of people that are failing at parenting. You're not perfect. I was not perfect. My parents were not perfect, but we were not so out of control. Put it this way. We did stuff. We all did stuff. I'm sure you have done stuff that you're waiting until I'm good and old to tell me.
I really haven't, actually.
Well, anyway.
I really don't.
Anyway,
anything I did, you already know.
And most, I'm going to say 99.5% of the bad stuff I did, my parents.
Oh, what you ain't told Grandma?
I was going to say they already know. Like, there's very little that they don't know that I did. Especially the worst of the stuff I did, they know. They know.
Why? Because you got caught?
Either got caught or they know. Like, it's not a secret to them. But I was always conscious and had a healthy fear of somebody calling and telling my parents I was acting a fool at school or anywhere. There was nothing in me that would make me do some of the stuff I see kids do now. Curse at a teacher, curse in front of a teacher, just like go out in public and show my behind. Like, no.
Are you not embarrassed?
I was raised in a house where the sayings were things like show out and get well out.
I think that's just like, because so many parents are like, they don't even care anymore. They're tired. They're having too many kids. They're tired.
Somebody else is going to finish raising them once they get to the point that they can talk back. Come on, y'all.
My hot take is I think there's too many parents with too many parents with adult issues that are not able to focus on what's going on with their kids when you should just love them kids where they was at.
Or they're otherwise engaged. Some of them, and this is no slight to teenage parents because my mom and my dad were teenage parents, but they're teenage parents who were kids raising kids, or they were too busy clubbing and having other things to do to raise their kids. And some people would be shocked. Some of them spent too much time in church. Some of these parents are at church too much. They're so busy being a super saint that they don't have time to see what's going on with their kids. They're so busy worrying about the souls of everybody else that they're not looking at what's going on in the physical.
They're not willing to sacrifice some of their personal time to.
That's what it boils down to. Whether it's the club or the church, if you are spending more time at either place or any place at the sacrifice of being present for your kids, you messing up.
If you don't have the energy to be a parent, then don't be.
You are messing up because kids need time and attention. I know for sure some of the kids that I've taught in my years of being a teacher act up because that's the only time they get attention. They act a fool. I literally had a kid tell me years ago that she would tell me things like, that was when I went by my married name, but I'm going to use my real name. Miss Walker, I came home late and my mom didn't say anything to me, but if you're going to come home this late, you need to remember your key because she had to let me in. Like, she was supposed to fuss at me. Like, she was supposed to ask me where I was. Kids said that to me. And I can remember her coming to me later on and saying, I got home late and she fussed at me. Like, she was happy because to her mom didn't care about her well-being because she was letting her do whatever she wanted to do. And that there's so many things that I learned in the classroom that made me do some of the things I did, whether you liked them or did you felt like I did the right thing or not. So many things that those kids told me, said to me that stuck with me and made me parent in a certain kind of way. I knew that my goal as a parent was to never have you feel like you needed to seek attention, especially in a negative way. I wanted you to feel like you were seen at all times. And these kids that are out here wilding out, shutting down McDonald's in places, it's because they don't feel seen or loved at home. A lot of it. Now, some of them might just have demons. I don't know. I do believe in the spirit where some of them might just have been born bad. But I think a lot of problems in the school start at home, and a lot of problems in the school could be fixed at home. And out in the public, too. Yeah. I'm saying school, but out in the public. Because what? Like, now they don't have McDonald's because they don't know how to act. And that's sad. They need to get it together. Okay? Anyway.
What's that one thing that was trending years ago?
When the lady said that she was trying to get her order together and the lady was rushing her and she was like, can you give me a McMinute?
That wasn't it. It was the lady that was cussing out the other lady. I forget what she said, but she put a Mick on something.
Yeah. She said that she was ordering her food and she ordered a lot of food and she ordered a Coke and the lady asked her, did she mean a Diet Coke?
Right?
Yeah, the lady was the cashier asked her because she ordered so much food and I forget what she said. It was something.
I forgot. It was trending for a hot minute when I was like in middle school.
Yeah, like, I think it was some words that I'm not gonna say, but it was like she called her a Mick something. I think.
Oh, a Mick B.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
She was like, "What did you say, Mick?" Yeah, something like that. I can't remember.
It was one of those moments that it would have got our own Ellen back then, but now it would have just been a trending thing.
Yeah, it would. Yeah,
it was just back then. Trending stuff meant so much more than it does now. Now it's just like whatever.
Yeah.
But speaking of trending topics, trending conversations, or whatever, I've been seeing a lot of kind of story times pop up about this subject, and also like trans rights are just so in the media right now because the current administration is doing what the current administration is doing.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the most debated or controversial topics is, does a trans person have to have this obligation to disclose that they are trans when dating someone, like romantically? So that's our Ask a Gemini, because I keep seeing it pop up. And I think it's worth a conversation having. Obviously, neither one of us are trans, so we can't really speak to it. But we can just give our opinion on the situations. But all respect to the community, but I
feel like
not a part of it.
People have to be and do whatever they feel like they need to be and do to be happy. And I'm not sitting in judgment of whatever decision somebody makes. But I do think that if you are a trans person and you are dating someone or romantically involved with someone and they don't know, you should give them that information so they can make an informed decision, because there are people that it would matter to. So
I think it puts other trans people's lives in jeopardy to not disclose it, because you don't know how somebody feels about it. You don't know what trauma's connected to it. You don't know how, if somebody's violent, you could be putting somebody else in a situation where now they're going after other people in the community because you lied to them, or like you didn't disclose it to them. I think it's in the same
category as if you got kids or if you've been married before. Like there's certain things that if you're gonna, because to me, to not disclose that, okay, for me, there's only a couple reasons not to. So if you choose not to disclose it to them, to me, what you're saying, whether you say it verbally or not, what you're saying is, if you knew I were trans, you might not want to be with me. Mm-hmm. Or you're saying, I know that you would care that I was trans, but I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to allow you to make that decision. And I don't think that that's fair. I think that, in any situation, if you got kids, if you've been married, if you've been in jail, there's certain things that you should just tell somebody.
There's a certain level of, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but I feel like there's a certain level of emotional baggage that comes with revealing your sexuality, revealing whether you're trans or not, revealing whether you have kids. Like there's a certain level of, okay, this person might be going through something. And I feel like the other person in the situation needs to know if they're willing to handle that or not. And then also, too, let's just say a trans person gets into a relationship, doesn't disclose it until way later on, and the other person in their head is like, oh, we're going to have kids.
That's what I was going to say. And that's especially if you're of childbearing age, that is so important that they know, because
and maybe they don't necessarily want to adopt.
The options are going to be. So there's certain things. Let's take trans off the table for a minute and say, let's just say you're a woman and you had to have a hysterectomy at a young age and you can't have kids.
Yeah.
I would expect that you should tell your partner that, because that partner may want to have their own.
Even if you got plastic surgery for any reason, you need to let somebody know.
Anything that may affect their decision-making process or impair them from being able to make an informed decision, I think they should be told.
Yeah. Or not justifying this, but if somebody is from a super religious family of any religion that knows that it's going to be a big issue,
deal, like they may be
that's something that I feel like you have to talk about. And if you can't share, like, I don't think it should have to be a secret if you're trans. Like, that's just like your identity. That's who you are. But I think if it's something that you can't talk about, then to me, as the other person in the relationship, I'm like, okay, so you still got some figuring stuff out to do.
And that's what I was going to say.
If you're not willing to be open.
The flip side of it is, if you are honest and you tell the person and they still want to be with you, then they love you for real. Like, that is true love. If you disclose that information to them and they say it doesn't matter, I love you, that ought to make you feel that much better, because they truly love you for who you are. But I don't think that that's something that you can, like, there's some secrets that you can't keep if you are in a relationship with someone. Now everybody else, your coworkers, somebody, like, and all of that,
they don't need to be in your business.
Yeah, your coworkers is not their business. Your employee, that's not their business. But if it's somebody that you're going to be in an intimate relationship with, then I think that you should tell them.
I feel like you have to, this is my opinion, I feel like anything that would relate to the relationship, you need to tell somebody your history of anything. Not, like, if you've had multiple sexual partners, like, I feel like that needs to be
to a certain degree.
Like, there's certain things that I feel like just naturally it would come up. Yeah, and I feel also too, like, if you were in a relationship and you're trans, I feel like you would want to make sure that person isn't transphobic, and you would have those conversations, because otherwise I feel like that would be, it's almost like, this is a crazy comparison, but it's almost like back in the day where people were white passing. Yeah, but they were actually black, and then they would have to be worried about, oh, is my husband gonna find out that I'm?
And then worry about having a child that comes out a little too brown.
Exactly. Like, I feel like that's the type of thing. I mean, back then, I don't really care if people lie about that or not, because that's a complicated subject.
Yeah.
But my point is that could put your life in danger.
It could.
Because if you're dating somebody that is very anti...
Well, first of all, hopefully you would know that they're like not hostile towards trans people.
But sometimes you don't know that, because there's a lot of people that are not hostile towards the LGBTQ plus community. But if it's their relative, or if it's somebody they're dating, or if it's close to them,
what I mean is,
then they could
hopefully you would have had enough conversations with them to know that they were trans friendly. Like, they're not the kind of people that hate trans people.
I'm telling you, sometimes people can disguise it. Like, for instance, one of my friends, you know who you is. I would say your name, but I don't want to blast you. She was dating somebody. Told them all about, like, you know, all of her social causes that she cared about, all the activism, and very liberal minded or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they were for the other team, and they had not said anything about it. And it almost kind of made her feel like they were trying to keep it from her, because why wouldn't that have naturally came up in conversation? Or they may have just been trying to set her up to use her for what they want to use her for, and then discard her, because they might have been trying to weaponize that. It was just because she thought that they were on the same page, because she had shared so much and they were super supportive of it. Yeah, but then at least they acted like they were. Yeah, but then she realized that they were not on the same page. Obviously, that caused issues, and it was like, okay, abort mission. Like get me out of the situation. You got to be careful. So I feel like the same thing could happen to somebody that's a member of the LGBTQ plus community, where somebody could be like, oh yeah, I go to Pride with you for sure. But then once they find out that, oh no, this was about you specifically, then it might change the game, and now you're putting yourself in like a toxic or dangerous situation because people are crazy. Well, I have some liberal views. I have some conservative views. But if I were dating someone and they were trans, I would want to know. Like, I would want to know. And I think that people have a right to know that. Like I said, now, your neighbor ain't none of their business. You paying your mortgage and keeping your yard mowed, that's not their business. Your boss, not their business. Co-workers, not their business. It's only the business of someone who you are intimately involved with, and whoever else you want to tell, because it's your business and you have a right to keep your business to yourself. And if you choose not to tell them, then you got to just accept them consequences. Yeah, like if they find out later and react badly, or if you find out that they are anti-trans, under no circumstances is it okay to abuse someone or to hurt someone for being trans or a part of any specific community. Because you can't tell people. You can't tell somebody how they feel and what is best for them. Like, you can't tell people that. So, I for their own protection and for their own emotional well-being, I think they should disclose that so that they're not hurt. Because I feel like that's a lot of I feel like that would be a lot of yourself that you would have to try to hide. Yeah. And just imagine having to wonder, if they knew who I really am, would they still love me? Yeah, like that's... Look, in a non-trans, in a heterosexual world, we have to worry about that. Yeah. So I can only imagine how it would feel if you were a trans person. But like, that's just the nature of relationships. Like, you always have to kind of wonder, is this person really who they say they are? I feel like you got to put all your cards on the table so that way, and see if things end, it's not your fault. From the tares. If things end, it's not your fault, because you knew who I was when you met me. Hey, look, because anybody that's trying to rock with me, no, I'm not biting my tongue. You ain't not going to be bossing me around. I'm coming as I am, so that you can decide, do you want to mess with this? Because you got to have your big boy panties on, or your big boy pants on. Big boy boxers? Boxers or big boy briefs even? Briefs or whatever. You got to have them on if you come in at this. So, like, I try not to be different in my private life than I am in my public life in a certain kind of way. Now, there are certain things in my private life that, are only going to be in my private life. And I'm not saying that you got to, like, at first conversation be like, they don't need to, until you know that you won't even want to be bothered with them. It's not their business. Like, make someone fall in love with you, and then it becomes a bigger issue, because now both of y'all feeling, because you don't want to fall in love and then find out that the person is not there, going to be there for you. So, like, once you decide, okay, let's try to take this to the next level. And I feel like, if you haven't told them before, then you need to tell them. That are a part of the LGBTQ community, they're very open and public about it. It could be because now it's 2025 and you don't have to. I mean, well, things might be going downhill. I even think now, but if you're bisexual, there are certain things that you should tell the person. I think because I want to know. Yeah, like you should tell the person. Because it may matter to them. It might not matter to you, and you got that right, but it may matter to them. I think you should tell them and then let them make an informed decision. I want to know who you voted for. I want to know, what your religious
proclivities are. Like, I want to know.
Well, how your family feel about certain issues. Because if I go to yapping and then all of a sudden your mom giving me the stank face,
I need to know. I need to know that, because not for me, but more for you. Like, if we get ready to have kids together, are you going to be telling my kids one thing and I'm telling them something
you have
else?
to have, even if you're not a part of whatever, I feel like if you're not Black, you need to be, well, how do you feel about Black people? If you're not gay, how do you feel about gay people?
Yeah, whatever.
Just so that way you know you're not dating an a-hole.
Whatever it is, however you feel about people, whatever your thought processes are about people, you need to make sure that
how do you feel about other religions? You need to have those conversations.
Because I'm
the type of person that my friends look all different kind of ways, believe all different kind of things. I need to know that if we have dinner together, you're not going to embarrass me.
One of your friends, when you were in college, was gay, and he was shocked to find out that I knew he was gay.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, you still my spirit animal. What you talking about? Because I loved him. I don't care if you're gay, but he was surprised because I guess
he had to hide it from his parents.
Yeah, he had to hide it from his parents, but it's like, no, whatever. So yeah, you need to find out.
Yeah. Because you don't want to be dealing with people and then find out them people hate you.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I need to know who's friends and who's that. We cannot bring the joke into the back.
Some people hide their stuff real, real good. Because I've experienced where I'm like, oh, we're on the same page. We think the same things. And then they'll say something like, oh, yeah, my dad did. Blah, blah. And I'm like, what? But yeah, you just be careful.
Protect yourself and protect your heart. Just tell them so that you can know you're dealing with somebody that is not going to be
racist and xenophobic and homophobic and transphobic and sexist and all of the ism and is.
Well, I won't say what people say, but there's 3 Fs. One of them is one I'm not going to say, but if you're not them or financing them or feeding them, you need to mind your business.
Yeah. But on to Gemini Gems, because I feel like we've been yapping for quite some time now.
We have. You want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay, so when you are grocery shopping or just shopping, I have found it helpful sometimes to have a clean laundry basket in the trunk of your car or in your back seat. Why, you may ask? Because when you go grocery shopping and you have to bring all your groceries in from the car, if you got a basket, lift basket, groceries in. If you got things that are cold or wet that you don't want in your trunk or in your car seat, basket will protect those things. And then most importantly, too many times I've had stuff sitting on the back seat or sitting in the front seat or even in the trunk, and as I'm driving, I hear that bottle rolling around in the trunk. If you put it in a basket, it will keep things from spilling out of the bag so that when you get home, everything is intact. So if you know you're running out to the grocery store and you're going to get a significant amount of groceries or, more than a couple bags, put your laundry basket or some type of large basket in your trunk or in your backseat, wherever you put your groceries, so that your stuff stays together, and then it makes getting it in the house a little bit easier.
Yeah. And on this theme of grocery shopping, having a cooler in your car is very helpful. Not just because you can put your cold drink, as I forget what coaches or what place says that, but your cold drink in the cooler during the summertime if you're out shopping. Us girls, we love to do it all to TJ Maxx, Publix, whatever run, all in the same day. But it also is good if you buy, if you go to one store and you get your fresh meats and then you go to another store and you got your frozen food, you can keep it all cool. And you can also do the cold bags, but I find that the cooler keeps things much cooler and I'm not worried about stuff spoiling and melting, especially since we live in Florida and it can be 100 degrees.
If you got to get that smoothie, but then you realize you got to run in somewhere, that cooler, you drop the sit the smoothie in the cooler, and when you come back, it's still frosty.
And then keeping it cool in your car. What if you just want to go to the beach? What if you want to go to the pool? You never know when you need it.
Get you some ice, some drinks, and you ready.
Yeah. So don't forget to comment, share, and subscribe.
Period.